Yo, what's good, fam?
I'm holding up. Just tired of all this same old struggle we've been carrying for generations.
Ain't that the truth? But you know what? Things changing. Folks everywhere talking about going back, investing back home in Africa.
That's why I established a home and family on the continent several years ago when things looked dicey, uncertain, and even dangerous. I'm well aware of Jews who left Europe in the years leading up to World War II.
For real, bro? That's bigger than a move. It's a whole movement. A way to flip the script on all that pain we inherited. Exactly. Let's break it down for people so they know why this matters. Across the world today, African descendants are making a bold choice to return to Africa, to invest in its future, to build new bonds of unity, and all based on African cosmology that served its people well for millennia. This Back to Africa movement is not nostalgia. It has roots going all the way back to the establishment of Liberia, as well as the passionate visions of return of Marcus Garvey. It is the answer to centuries of displacement and exploitation. And let's be honest, look at what's happening elsewhere. The so-called Western cosmology, it's springing leaks everywhere. Markets crash every decade like it's a tradition. Climate disasters pile up while leaders argue about whose fault the thermometer is. And folks still believe endless consumption is a philosophy, not a sickness. Exactly. The very hypocritical systems that claim to bring civilization are now stumbling under their own weight and rot. Meanwhile, African knowledge, rooted in balance, community, and spirit, has carried people through thousands of years, through drought and flood, through empire and colonization. That's the soil this return is planted in. Every diaspora community has its own reasons. In the Caribbean, descendants of enslaved Africans live with the memory of plantations and colonial control. In South America, African heritage was often silenced. In Europe and Middle East, migration carried both opportunity and marginalization. And in the United States, the backdrop was genocide, slavery, and wars. Different stories, yes, but all part of the same cloth. In America, the first pillar was genocide. Indigenous nations who had lived on the land for millennia were displaced, destroyed, or confined. That violence created the space and foundational land wealth on which the United States would rise. The mindset that whole peoples could be erased for profit or progress still lingers today. The second pillar was slavery. Millions of Africans were captured, chained, and forced to build an economy that enriched everyone but themselves. Cotton, sugar, tobacco. These crops powered global trade, and the racial hierarchy designed to enforce slavery outlived emancipation. Through police patrols, through segregation, through redlining, through mass incarceration. The third pillar was war. Wars of expansion against indigenous nations in Mexico, wars abroad for power and control, and wars at home, wars on drugs, wars on crime that fell hardest on African descendants. We fought bravely in those wars, yet the freedoms we defended were seldom granted to us. Taken together, genocide, slavery, and war created America's wealth and global power. But they also left a legacy of exclusion, of brutality, and of displacement that shaped the Black experience in America. That is one thread in the larger fusion of the African diaspora. And now, the return to Africa is weaving those threads together. It is not just Americans. It is Caribbeans investing in African trade, Brazilians rediscovering Yoruba heritage, Europeans bringing technology and capital, and African Americans channeling capital, knowledge, and creativity into the continent for its greater empowerment. This is not retreat, it is restoration. For centuries, Africa's people and resources were extracted. Now descendants are returning with choice, with purpose, and with determination to equitably build a future grounded in sovereignty and unity. And for the world, this matters. A stronger, United Africa shifts global balances. It transforms old patterns of exploitation into new patterns of partnership. It says clearly, Africa is not just the past that was stolen. It is the future we are shaping together. From genocide, slavery, and war came centuries of pain. But from return comes renewal. Each diaspora community, with its own history, is finding common purpose in Africa's future. The circle is closing. Africa's time has come, and so has ours.